Good morning. I'm Ian Campbell with Alpha Capital, and today we're going to go over the online enrollment packet and enrollment details to enroll in the 401k plan. I've sent an email to Chris, and then he will send an email out to all of you that are enrolling or eligible to participate in the plan with the attached documents and any information that you would like. If you have any questions, we're also available. We are the investment advisors on the top of the 401k plan. So if there's anything that we can help with, feel free to reach out to us, and I'll provide our contact information here towards the end. The first document we'll go through is going to be the online enrollment packet. And on the second page is kind of step one of all this whole process. And it's going to the retirement plan consultant's website, which is the provider, to enroll online and create a username and password. And that first step is to go to this website link here, yourplanaccess.net/retirementplanconsultants. And then once you select online enrollment, you'll want to also reference this plan password, 3 paras, P-A-R-A-S, all capital letters. And starting on the 9th page of this document too, I'm going to go down to that, actually 8th page, sorry, is the online enrollment step-by-step guide. So you can actually follow that workflow of those procedures of clicking into that website, selecting online enrollment at the top left corner. Once you get to the plan password, again, throw in that 3 paras plan password, and then it'll prompt you to put in your social security number and date of birth, and then also complete the username and password information. These next 4 or 5 pages on this document will have those step-by-step process for the onboarding workflow of creating that username and password and also completing the online enrollment steps. I did want to quickly mention one item. It does hang up, folks. As you're completing the online enrollment process, once you're ready to select the investments, there'll be a choose source money option. You want to make sure that you're selecting all sources of money when you're selecting the investment direction for all of it. So make sure you are selecting all sources of money and then just hitting next, and that'll allow you to go through that completion and authorization for that. This is the main document that you will be referencing. For the purposes of today's call and webinar, I did want to go back to the actual PDF document. There is a paper form that's available, so if you don't have access to a computer or you want to complete it via the paper form, you are eligible to go and do that. And I've got that pulled up on my screen. There's another attachment that the email that you'll get, which is called the PDF enrollment booklet. It is 55 pages in length. You don't have to print that out if you don't want to. The online enrollment is available. If you do want to print something out, please make sure you are selecting, those first 2 or 3 pages there. It starts on page 2, which is what you're seeing here, which is the enrollment application. It's easier to follow through these documents here to give you an understanding of what type of information you'll be filling out throughout that online enrollment process. The participant information is the beginning of this here, pretty self-explanatory there. The next piece that I'd like to just bring a little bit of attention to is the date of hire. Each of you will need to put in the date of hire, so get with Chris if you have any questions about what that date may be. And then Chris, for yourself, it's going to be the effective date of the plan for you. And I believe I've got the 5/20/2017 date. So that would be your official hire date for yourself for that. And then the enrollment election is what we'll spend a little bit of time on. And for those people who wish not to participate in the plan at this time, this document, this 2-page document, will actually serve as a waiver for you. So Chris, you can present the benefit to all eligible employees. And then if you have an employee that does not want to participate at that time, they'll complete this top section of this enrollment paper form. They'll select this first option, I elect not to contribute in the retirement plan at this time, and then they'll sign the second page and then provide that back to you. That you can then keep for your records, showing that you presented the benefit to the employee. At that time, they wish not to participate, and you've got a copy of that record. If they want to participate in the future, they can. They would have to go and then enroll through the enrollment process again. You do not have to get a new form signed every quarter or every semi-annually. One is sufficient. So if you do have one on file, that's good. But as an employee, if you do want to participate, get with Chris and make sure you're completing that online enrollment or that paper form. And then the next question, there's 4 primary questions that individuals are going to face when they're completing that online enrollment process. The first one, am I in or am I out? Am I going to participate or not? Hopefully everybody is going to participate. Saving for retirement is very important. The next question is, if you are going to participate in the plan, you have a couple options, which are those next 2 boxes there. The first one, or the second one, being a traditional or pre-tax contribution. And that's going to be what's most familiar to people, is where you're putting in money today, you're getting the tax deduction from a taxable income, and then you're going to pay the taxes in retirement on withdrawing that money. So depending on what your tax bracket may be in retirement, that would be your effective tax rate that you're going to pay. The opposite happens with a Roth contribution, and that's going to be that third option, which is an after-tax contribution, meaning that you're putting in money that you've already paid taxes on today. And then when you retire and you're withdrawing that money, Uncle Sam's not going to be there to take that tax because you've already paid it. So depending on what your taxes are right now, what you foresee your tax rate to be in the future, one may say one may be better than the other. Whatever you decide today is not set in stone. You can always adjust it. If you wanted to switch it 1 year or mid-year, you can absolutely do that as well. We tend to see people that are younger or in their earlier working years or making, lower income. They'll tend to do Roth because they're hedging their bets that they're going to make more money in the future, essentially paying more taxes in the future as well. So they would want to pay a lower tax rate now, and then when they want to, save that, taxable income deduction, then they'll switch over to a pre-tax contribution. If you are looking to put in as most money as you possibly can into your retirement without it affecting your net take-home pay, then a pre-tax option or that traditional option is probably the best, because that will have a lesser effect to your net take-home pay. So you'll see more money going into your account to the tune of, maybe say, if you're going to save $50 into your account, your net take-home pay may only go down about $30. So you have that $20 difference there. And that would be a pre-tax or a traditional contribution. I'm going to pause there. Chris, do you have any questions, or anybody else have any questions on the traditional versus Roth, or does that make sense? Go ahead.
Yeah, everything makes sense. It sounds great. And the only thing else I wanted to mention, and I wanted to get some clarification, is my plan is 1,000 hours or 1 year. They have to qualify.
Correct. Yes, it's 21 years old, 1,000 hours, and 1 year of service.
Okay. And then the percent that they can contribute, I thought it was up to 3% that could be matched.
So it's technically, and we'll get to that here as that contribution amount too, but that's a great question. That'll kind of lead us into this, and I'll try to answer that in 2 parts. The third question that folks are facing with that enrollment process is the how much question. Is how much should I be saving for my retirement? The national average is 8%. So all age groups, all industries, all states are saving around 8% of their income into retirement. That would be a recommended path to just kind of make sense of everything and be equal to everybody else. A lot of studies have shown, and research has shown, is that 10% is really that magic number for folks to save. We all know that 8% or 10% may not be in the cards for many of us. So putting in something less than that is important, but then also trying to build on that year after year. So if you're going to start at maybe say 5% and bumping that contribution up by 1% every year after to get up to either 8 or 10%. So use those, watermarks, if you will, as an option to try to get going up in that right direction to saving that 10% as a magic number. If you were to simply pull up Google and just said, how much should I be saving in retirement? Every article that you would most likely read will say at least 10%. I actually saw an article that my wife was reading to me the other day, and they said you should be saving around 15% of your income, 10% in a 401k, 5% in an after-tax, like a savings account of some sort. But we all know that budgeting is going to be very important to that, and we're understanding of that too. So at least do something, which is important. But that brings up that question that Chris had just brought up, is the company match. And the company match is called a safe harbor, or a basic safe harbor match. And the way it works is it's a calculation if you put in less than 5% or at 5% or more. And the calculation is 100% on the first 3% that the employees put in, and then 50% on the next 2%. And another way to explain it is if you're going to put in 1%, the company match would be 1, 2 for 2, 3 for 3. If you put in 4% as a contribution rate, the company match would be 3.5. And if you put in 5%, the company match would be 4%. The maximum company match that each of you would get would be a 4% maximum match, which is that safe harbor basic match. So it would behoove everybody to at least put in 5% to max out that company match of 4%. So between that kind of 5% number and 10% number is really where we want to see most of everybody be participating at least 5 to get that 4, but then get up to that 8 or 10% level from a national average or a better savings rate. And just to reiterate it, 5% of your pay and then 4% from the company for your pay. As an example, if you have a $1,000 paycheck, the contribution that you would be saving would be 5% or $50. The company match would be 4% or $40. $90 would be going into your 401k account. And essentially your paycheck would probably only go down around $30 if you were doing that pre-tax option, as an example. So I'm going to pause there. Chris, was there any questions that you had on that? Does that make sense?
I think that makes sense and explained very well, Ian. So it's
Great.
Very easy. Yep.
Awesome. So, and then one other quick thing with the contribution amount, you can put in a flat dollar amount if you would like. We don't recommend it just because the company match is tied based off of a percentage, and it's easier just to tabulate what that would be. And the other example is if you're working hourly or you're paid hourly and you're going to work, say, a lighter schedule one week, or you're out sick or either on vacation, that flat dollar amount is going to come out of that paycheck regardless of the amount of it. So let's say you're going to put in $50 per paycheck and your average paycheck's $1,000. That still gets you to that 5% number. But if you're out sick, for half of the week and your paycheck is now $500, that $50 is going to come out of it regardless of the amount of the paycheck. So we'd really, really recommend everybody do a percentage rather than a flat dollar amount. If there are participants who are looking to put in a specific amount, like say $5,000 per year or an exact number, then yes, that would be wise to put in the per pay period amount. You would take that larger number that you would want to save. Let's say it's 10 grand. Take 10 grand divided by the number of pay periods left in the year or in that year, and that would get you to that exact goal by the end of the year. So if there's any questions you have on that, feel free to reach out to us. The IRS limit for 2019 for the contributions from the employee did get increased to a maximum of $19,000 for that calendar year of 19. If you are over age 50, you can put in an additional $6,000 for a catch-up contribution for a total of $25,000. And that again is only the employee's contribution, that limit. The company match would then be on top of that and is not part of that overall cap or that limit from the IRS. So I'm going to pause there. Are there any questions that you've got about traditional versus Roth, how much, the company match at all?
No, and the one thing I wanted to ask is this goes in effect January 1st of 2019, correct? Is when they
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So we have from now until then to get people to sign up and hopefully encourage them to sign up prior to January 1st.
Yes, and I would definitely recommend to try to get this done in the next few weeks, just so everybody's got their information in the system. We can work with you towards those last couple of weeks in December to get payroll set up and make sure it's all good to go. The target is really going to be that first payroll or that first pay date in January. That's kind of the hard and fast line of the sand. If you're paying mid-January or early January, then that may limit when people can go and enroll or, getting that paperwork or either getting that online enrollment completed. If folks do, go ahead.
I was going to ask the other question. So if someone does not participate this coming year, they can enroll the following year, and there's a timeline they can enroll in, right, Ian?
That's correct. And technically, yes, that's correct. And there actually is, for the plan, there are 2 dates of open enrollment. So if you basically say no today or say no for a January 1 start, you can then say yes in July. So January and July every single year, folks can enter into the plan. If you become eligible in, say, February, March, April, then you have to wait until that next open enrollment period, which would be July. So
got it.
Folks that are eligible in the beginning of the year, they'll start in July. Folks that are available at the end of the year will start in January, but you have to enter the plan at January 1st or July 1st. Those 2 dates are going to be what's important. If you do want to make those adjustments, Guidant, they can help with the amendment, but that's very standard across all plans for folks to meet the eligibility, which is 21 years old, 1 year of service, 1,000 hours, and then they would enter in either January or July of that year. And
Got
then,
it.
Awesome. And then one quick thing to just mention is that whatever you decide on the contribution rate, the Roth amount, or that pre-tax amount, regardless of what you're putting in today, you can adjust at any time. You'll have 24/7 access to the website, and you can go on there and make adjustments to that at any time. I did want to clarify one thing is, in that example that I shared with you, if you're going to put in 5% of your money, the company match is going to be that 4%. The company match is always going to go into a pre-tax or a traditional bucket of money because the company is not paying taxes on your behalf. So if you're going to say, I'm going to save 5% in a Roth account, then you're going to have 5% at $50 is going to go into a Roth 401k money type in your 401k. And then the 4% company match that you're going to be getting from the company is going to go into a pre-tax company match. So you'll have 2 different money types in that 401k plan. If, again, you were saving pre-tax, you're going to just have 5 of your pre-tax money, 4 pre-tax going in from the company for just kind of one money line item type, or not money that you've paid taxes on yet. So I just wanted to make that point, is the company match will always go into a pre-tax bucket. It will never go into a Roth bucket. And then the last and final question that folks face is the investments, which is often sometimes the hardest to go and pick and choose. On the second page of the PDF document, there are 30 or so investment choices to pick and choose from. Mark and I's primary role in this 401k plan as advisors is to make sure that this investment menu is dynamite today, but also in subsequent quarters into the future. We review these investments every single quarter with heavy scrutiny. If there is a fund that does fall out of favor for consecutive quarters, we'll pull that out and replace it with a new fund. That happens automatically. Notices will get sent out to all participants automatically as well too. There's no work or information that you have to go and send out, Chris, to any of the employees. That happens on your behalf. What's also important is all of these investment choices are all institutional grade mutual funds. What that means to you as investors is that they're the lowest cost options available for investors. But all of these investment choices, part of our review process is making sure that you have some of the best, if not the best, investment choices to pick and choose from. And all of these funds are top quartile in their respective categories as well. So that means that they're in that top 25% of their respective categories. So great performing funds, low cost options as well. But we know that that's not helpful in picking the choices, is you've got great funds and low cost, but that doesn't help provide any direction. So what we do from an education and advice standpoint is we put together a model asset allocation guide. And this will be one of the attachments that you'll get in an email. It looks like a big Excel spreadsheet. All of the investment choices are on that left-hand column. The asset class that they represent is in the second column. The third column is their ticker symbol. So if you care to do more research, you can definitely just Google that 5-letter ticker symbol and find out a lot of information. And then the next 5 columns are predefined portfolios that we've done the math and the homework of what a diversified allocation would be given that risk tolerance. So depending on your risk tolerance, this is our pick of the litter of what we would recommend you invest in based off of that makeup of that allocation. So For just education purposes, we tend to see people that are in their 20s and 30s, even into their 30s, and mid 40s as well, be in that aggressive column, that 80-20. As you're in your 40s and even in your 50s, we'll tend to see people in that moderate aggressive column. And then late 50s, early 60s, we tend to see people in that moderate 50-50 column from an allocation standpoint and risk and time frame left until retirement. Folks that are in retirement or after retirement or over 65 will be in that moderate conservative. And then depending on folks that are heavily conservative, they're looking for just preservation, then that conservative 20-80 model may make sense for folks that are over 70 and so on. This is going to be a little bit more of a hands-on approach, as we're going to update this asset allocation guide every single quarter. The ask of the individual is when you get the new updated guide every quarter, is just to go in online, make sure your percentages line up with what's the guide that it says, and either make a change once or twice a year and be in front of what we recommend you to be in. So when you're filling out those percentages on the investments, like we just saw on this last page, we've got those percentages already clearly laid out in one of those columns. And as an example, let's just say you're using the 50-50 column. We're going to go and pick that DFA emerging markets, find that on the worksheet, the DFA emerging markets, put 2%, go to the next one, Vanguard Total Stock Market Index, find that one, put in 2%, go to the next one, and so on. So we've got the math and the homework already done for you. If you want to follow that, that's great. It's more of a hands-on approach. For those who want to be a little bit more hands-off, the bottom left section of this document is going to have what's called the target date series or target date funds. And the way target date funds work is you would choose the year that you would reach age 65. And that's going to plop you into a target date range. And then this fund would be your most appropriate fund based off the time frame left until retirement or age 65. So do the math, find out what the target date fund would be for you, and you would go 100% into that one fund, and that would be your choice. The way these funds work is they start out more aggressive for those younger folks because they're going to be retiring later in life, and that's why the bigger the years are there. The blue ones that I've highlighted towards the bottom are going to be similar to that aggressive column, 80% in equities or stocks, 90% in equities and stocks as well. And then the next four are going to be a little bit less aggressive because those folks are going to be in their 40s and 50s in this group here. And it's going to be more in that moderate aggressive column or that 60-40 or 70-30 mix, 70% in equities, 30% in bonds, or 60% in stocks, 40% in bonds. And then the next three are going to be closer to that 50-50 mix, more for those individuals that are in their late 50s or early 60s. As an example, that 2020 fund, that individual would be around 63 years old right now, give or take. So with that being said, I just wanted to reiterate, again, they start out aggressive at that 2060 fund, and then they de-risk every 5 years to be a little bit less aggressive every 5 years, ultimately reaching about a 50-50 portfolio at retirement date or whatever that present year is. So we've got one option is a little bit more hands-on, following the guide. Second option is going to be a target date fund. And the third is you're free to do whatever else and pick and choose your investments accordingly. You have the keys to the car. You have the power of selecting your own investments. We just wanted to help provide some more education and direction of what we would feel is the best opportunity for taking the least amount of risk and having the best amount of return over a long period of time. And then on the bottom of this worksheet is our contact information, both Mark and I's, contact information for our office as well as our emails. Each one of you as eligible participants can reach out to us for one-on-one help and assistance. This webinar will be available via recording, but if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're more than happy to go and talk to each one of you and help provide some direction around savings as well as investment selection and anything else you have questions on. Whatever you decide today, again, you can be changed. Whatever your investment decisions are, you can adjust that at any time, 24/7, 365. There is no cost of going in and out of any of these funds, and there's no trading costs as well too. So you could change your investments every single day if you wished without any cost at all. So I'm going to pause there. Are there any questions about the investment selection or the asset allocation guide at all?
No, Ian, I think you did very well on that. It's good.
Awesome.
Real good.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to hop to the last two pieces that I want to cover quickly to wrap it up here. The beneficiary designation form is going to be the third page, or the third page of this document. The beneficiary is very important because in the event that you pass away, the monies that you've accumulated in this account will go to whom you wish. So make sure you are keeping this up to date. If you are completing that online enrollment process, you can put in all of the beneficiary information electronically. So you do not have to complete any paper form. You can do it all over the web if you would like. And you can also update that at any time in the future. So if you are completing the paper form or completing it online, you can go in there and update that as well at any time. One quick note on the very bottom of this form here, there's what's called a spousal consent. So in the event that you do not name your spouse as primary beneficiary or first in line, they have to sign a paper form and a witness notary has to be present as well. So if you're married and you do not want your spouse to get the assets or at first in line for that, they have to assign it, and also a witness notary needs to be present. So I don't want to create any arguments at the dinner table, but it is an IRS rule if it does apply. If there's any questions, you can reach out to us as well for further help on that. And then the one final thing is the account rollover. In the event that you've got an old 401k account or old IRA or SEP or 457 plan or whatever, and you want to consolidate those assets into this plan from a previous employer or previous account, you can. If you're eligible in the plan, you can roll those monies over. But also the same works as the outbound. The monies that you've accumulated in this account in, say, 5 years from now or 20 years from now, you're no longer working for the company, you can then roll out those monies as well. So whatever you've accumulated can be transferred out once that date of termination happens as well. So it is essentially kind of follows you wherever you're working. So keep that in mind to make sure you're keeping track of where your money is at. I can't tell you countless of times where I've talked to employees where they're like, I had an account at this one firm that I worked at or this one company that I worked at. It's been about 10 years and I don't know where it's at. So don't be that person. Make sure you're keeping track of your money and your accounts and login information. That's one of the biggest pieces of information I can share with you today is just keep track of things. Keeping track of it, but also consolidating it can help and make sure that you're not trying to keep track of 5 different things and you're just having to keep track of one account, which is very helpful. So if that does apply to you, there's a member of a team with retirement plan consultants, Stephanie Wolf, that our onboarding specialist. She's actually going to be helpful in transitioning those accounts from that other firm over to retirement plan consultants. So if that does apply for anybody, we'll get you in touch with Stephanie Wolf at Retirement Plan Consultants, and she'll be able to help you one-on-one transfer those assets and that account from that other company over to Retirement Plan Consultants and work on that to make sure it goes smooth. And then if there's any questions that you have, well, we're also available to help answer that as well. So that's all the information we wanted to cover. Again, our contact information is on the bottom of that form. Chris, was there any questions that you had about the beneficiary form or the rollover form this time?
No, very well done.
Okay.
Yeah.